Okay, so welcome everybody. Happy Wednesday. My thought this week that I am working with is on distraction, being distracted, right? Because this is the story of our lives, is this constant battle against distraction, right? Our yogic story is that it's our constant battle against distraction. And whenever we set ourselves in this mentality that we are working against something, what do? We create conflict, we create resistance, we create this feeling that somehow there's a pushing away of what we don't want to have. And it actually draws our attention from the thing that we're actually trying to reach, right? This is what conflict does, is it pulls us away from what we're actually trying to achieve by getting us locked into that feeling of opposition. So when we're talking yogically about distraction, or the mind being in a nice, settled state, is that we don't want to get drawn into that smallness of what the distraction is, right? That's what we call the state of distraction, is we get pulled into the smallness of what something is over and over again, as opposed to being able to stay in the bigness of things as they are, right? This is the Buddhist perspective of things as they are, interconnected. So our process, right, when dealing with distraction, if we try to get rid of them one by one, it doesn't work. It's like a game of whack-a-mole, right? You're never going to win. But the practice is actually to just bring your awareness wider, to bring your awareness bigger. Because when you're in that state of wide, you're in that state of interconnected, is that all of the small pieces that can be distractions start to add up to something that's more meaningful. And it's not something that has to pull you away from that inner state of completeness or relaxation, or just stillness, right? We're talking meditation. It doesn't have to pull you away, right? What pulls us away is our desire or our willingness to get drawn into conflict, to get drawn into smallness. So as Swami Satchidananda would say, if there's one thing you should be very selfish about, it's your own inner peace, right? If there's one thing that you should be very categorically for all the time, it is your own sense of inner peace, your own sense of inner equanimity. And that equanimity is being able to be in the world in a very wide way and not always drawn to what is small, right? So comfortable seat, let the eyes close. Maybe letting yourself come to a place where your practice, your yoga practice or your life practice, is not about trying to get away from distraction, but rather it's about keeping your awareness ever increasing or ever widening to include all of those things that can be distracting. And by including them, it no longer becomes something that has to pull you away, right? So with the eyes closed, feel the breath for a moment, drawing in through the nostrils. So you notice the sensation there. Breathe all the way up into the third eye, or the space of the brain. And then exhaling all the way out again, feeling the breath again at the tip of the nostrils. So those are your two focal points. Sensation at the tip of the nostrils, inner drishti, third eye. And you're exhaling out again, noticing the breath at the nostrils. And so every time you draw that line with the breath, keeping the awareness in that connection, outer world, inner world, is that all around that line of connection where the breath is flowing in and the breath is flowing out, can you feel that there is a sensation of vastness? That all of your attention is on that one line of breath. And everything else all around you is just vast space. And it's none of your business what is included in that vast space. The thread of breath is the thread of awareness. And every breath is you allowing things to be exactly as they are, to find yourself in things exactly as they are. When your mind starts to try and go somewhere else and claim that things are some other way, you come back to the breath and feel again, this is the way things are. in and up to the third eye, out into that open space, vast space. The next breath in, keep the awareness at the third eye, but let the exhale happen. And keep the awareness at the third eye. Bring the hands together in front of the heart, palm to palm. And keeping the attention exactly at that space, third eye chakra, middle of the head, middle of the brain. Sound of Om, deep breath in. And let the eyes float open. Nice, you guys. You can release your hands. You can keep this inner drishti if you'd like at the third eye through the entire class. See how that goes. Maybe even keep that line of breath going up to the third eye during the entire class. See how that goes. And then come forward to hands and knees, please. And if you're ready to abandon that for, for movement, that's okay. But stay in the awareness of your breath, because this is one of, again, I'm going back for myself to some of those fundamentals of what we do in a yoga practice that makes it yoga. So start to move in cat and cow, please. Inhaling, drawing the spine long, lifting through the chest and the tail, and then exhaling, rounding, drawing up through the middle of the back. Good. And then continue breathing forward and exhaling, drawing in and noticing if you are initiating the movement from your body or if you are initiating the movement from your breath. So number one, what do we call yoga? We call it breath and movement. And that doesn't mean that you happen to be breathing and you happen to be moving, but that you are linking the two together. So yoga is bringing things together. It is not the experience of pulling things apart and trying to decide what's right and what's wrong. It's bringing things together. It's finding where the connection is. Good. Finding what the space is that holds all things together, the energy that holds all things together. Good. Come back to stillness, please. Then stretch your right leg back behind you, toes tucked on the floor. Good. Walk the left arm forward towards straight, fingertips on the floor. So again, before you come into the balance, the foot is on the floor, the hand is on the floor. Drag everything in towards the center. So that thigh bone is pulling in, left shoulder is drawing in, pull your low belly up away from the floor. And then at the same time, on an inhale, lift the leg and lift the arm. Find that lift. Deep breath in. Good. Exhale, bring the knee and elbow towards each other, squeeze in and round the back. Good. Inhale, extend all the way out, pause. And then with the legs straight and the arm extended, drop the toes and the fingertips back to the floor. Just touch. Good. Yep, same thing. Inhale, take arm and leg up at the same time. Good. Exhale, bring elbow and knee together around underneath you, round your back. Inhale, extend all the way back out. And same time, hand and foot just touch down to the floor. Good. One more time. Inhale, lift everything up. Good. Exhale, drag everything in, elbow and knee together, round your back. Inhale, extend all the way out. Good. And then drop the toes, drop the hand. Nice. Take the left hand underneath the left shoulder again. Right leg stays extended. Drop that right heel to flat. So the toes are on the floor. Drop the heel. Take the right arm up to the sky. Good. And then take the right arm over the ear. So you're stacking the left shoulder on the left wrist. Right arm comes over the ear. Press through the baby toe of that right foot. So again, you're having the sensation of pressing out and long through the outer edge of the right thigh, but you're reaching your rib cage forward. Good. Now bend the right elbow. Place that hand behind your heart. So you're not just bringing it behind your head, but you're sliding it all the way down the neck towards the back of your heart. So the elbow is going to point towards the top of your head. Good. So press the hand into the back of the heart and then try to open the chest a little bit more. That's it. And then actually round into your rib. So pull that right rib cage up towards the sky, round it like a rainbow if you want, like that image. Good. So you get that full stretch through that right arm. Nice. And then stretch the right arm back over the ear with the ribs rounded, pull long. Good. And then release, please, taking that hand down to the floor, come back to hands and knees. Good. Whole thing on the second side. Take the left leg back behind you. Good. Toes tucked on the floor. Walk the right arm forward, so fingertips find the floor. So again, you're setting up your balance point here, that center core balance point before you do anything else. And that's what you're maintaining. Everything else is just distraction, right? The arm and the leg and all that business. Core is what matters here, right? So draw everything in. And then on an inhale, lift the leg and the arm at the same time. Extend your spine. Good. Exhale, bring the elbow and knee together, round your back. Draw everything in and up. Good. And then send yourself all the way out long again. Inhale. Nice. Drop the toes, drop the fingers to the floor. Just touch. So no dropping the weight. And then inhale everything back up again. Lengthen. Good. Exhale, bring the elbow and knee together. Round your back. Squeeze. Good. Inhale, extend all the way out again. Nice. Dropping the toes, dropping the hand. Just touch. Good. And then one more breath. Inhaling the arms all the way up. Leg up as well. Bring the elbow and knee together around underneath you. Exhale. Good. Inhaling, extending all the way out. Nice. And then drop the toes and the hand to the floor. Good. Take the right hand back underneath the right shoulder. Drop your left heel flat to the floor and take the left arm up to the sky. Good. So again, as you're stacking the ribs here, stacking the shoulders, as you're leaning your weight slightly forward, right shoulder or right armpit moves over the right wrist, and then press back through the baby toe of your left leg. So you should feel like there's a lot of elevation. So you're pushing down through that right shin, but everything through the left thigh is pulling up towards the sky. Good. And then take the left arm over your ear. Nice. Bend the elbow, place the hand not just behind the head, but slide it down the neck like you're going to take it to the back of your heart. So the elbow tip is going to point towards the top of your mat. Good. And then again, lean a little bit more and arc into that left side body. So round into your left rib cage. So again, you're making as much space on that outer hip and thigh side body as you can. Press that hand into the back of the heart. Move your head back in space. Good. Open the sternum. Nice, Nikki. Good. And then extend that left arm back over the ear, reach long with the ribs rounded. Yeah. Nice, Kristen. And then come all the way back to hands and knees. Good. Tuck your toes, please. Lift your hips. Come into downward facing dog. Spread the fingers nice and wide. Good. Then breathe yourself all the way up to the top of your tailbone. So from the fingertips all the way up to the top of the tail, exhaling down the backs of the legs. So try that with a little lift up. So as you inhale, rise up onto the balls of your feet, take your hips higher, breathing all the way up the top of your spine. Tops of your thighs go back before your heels go anywhere. So pull your hips back and then exhale down the backs of the legs, soften the heels towards the floor any amount. Good. Inhale to come up onto the toes again. Pull everything in and up. Squeeze your hands towards your feet. Breathe up into your lower back. And then thighs move back first. As you exhale, let your heels soften towards the floor. Good. Last time, lift up onto the balls of the feet. Inhale, pull everything forward and up. Squeeze the hands and the feet. Tops of the thighs move back. And then soften the heels towards the floor, drawing the hips up and back even more. Good. Right leg comes up and back, down dog split. Nice. Step that foot forward between the hands, lunge. Good. Up on your fingertips, please. So still in that lunge with your hands on the floor or blocks, just come up on your fingertips, kick that left thigh a little higher, please. And then scoop that right low belly, scoop your right butt cheek under just a little bit and move that knee forward directly over the ankle if it's not already there. Good. And then maintain that. Press down through that right heel, lift and spread the right toes. Good. Feel as though you're pressing your inner thigh slightly wide. And then pull back on the top of your left thigh. So left thigh moves up and back. Lift your pelvis up and back slightly. Good. And just like that down dog feeling, try and move your hips back in space, but keep that front knee right on top of the ankle. Chest up. Good. Now don't change a thing and take the arms up to the sky. High lunge. There you go. I know you're shocked that you're not wobbling, right? Good. Maybe you are wobbling. That's okay. But keep that feeling, right, of pressing down through that front heel, dragging that left thigh up and back. Nice. Arms out wide. Cactus arms, please. Lift your chest towards the sky. Take it into any amount of a back bend. Good. Lifting up through your hip points. Keep lifting that left thigh up and back. That's it. Good, you guys. And then stretch the arms all the way alongside the ears. So you pull through the armpits. Nice. And then come all the way back up to center, please. Good. Take your hands back behind you, interlace the fingers, come forward, parallel to the floor. As you come forward with the chest, the back thigh has to lift a little higher. Good. And then bow inside that front thigh, bringing the shoulders inside, forehead towards the floor, any amount. Nice, you guys. Good. Keep pushing those inner thighs wide, right? Butt cheek pulls in towards the midline. Awesome. Release the hands down to the floor, please. Both hands inside the front foot. Walk to your left until you come to the center of your mat. Straighten the legs, turn the toes. Prasarita Tanasana. Good. Nice. So, Kristen, we are in Prasarita Tanasana, right foot towards the top of your mat, because it looks like your video cut out. So wide legs facing the side of your mat. Good. Just bring the other foot towards the top of your mat. Turn yourself around. Right foot. There you go. Right foot to the top of your mat. Okay. All right, you guys. Right hand down to the floor, please. Left arm to the sky. Prasarita Tanasana, twist. Kristen will figure it out. Good. Come all the way back and release. Left hand down to the floor, right arm up. Good. And then release both hands down to the floor, please. Beautiful. So turn your toes out 45 degrees, both feet. Good. And let yourself move into a little bit of a side lunge. So the right knee goes wide to the right. And again, it's just a little bit. So I'm fooling around with Lisa's knees now. I'm doing this on purpose. So as the knee goes wide, right, we're working with that, drawing the hip, thigh bone up into the hip socket. Scoop your belly under. So it's like you're trying to rotate the tail down. Good. And then bring yourself back to center, please. Straightening the legs. Move to the other side, bending the left knee, making sure the knee is pointing towards second or third toe. And the idea here is that if you're leaning forward a lot, your butt is going to be tilted upward, right? Your pelvis, front of the pelvis is pointing down and butt's going to be tilted up. Reverse that. Almost try and draw your tail down long towards the floor and lift those hip points up, and then widen that left knee again. Good. And then bring it back to center, please. Straightening both legs. Turn the toes forward. Good. Bring your hands to your hips. Come all the way up to stand. Good. So Kristen, just turn so that you are coming into triangle with your right foot towards the top of your mat. Right foot forward in triangle. Right toes turn towards the top of your mat, everybody. Take the arms out wide. Good. Keeping the legs straight. Extend out through that right rib cage. Long, 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 long. And then let that right hand touch down to the floor. Left arm up to the sky. Good. Finding again where there is awareness of yourself, not just internally what's going on in your pose, but where there is awareness of yourself as being within a much vaster space, right? This is the whole practice of yoga, is that we're not just meditating when we're sitting still in one position with our eyes closed, is that we're finding this feeling of awareness of ourselves in that wideness, in that bigness all the time. So you got to try to find it here, right? With whatever other distractions are going on, whatever other things are happening. Good. So come back to that breath awareness, deep breath in, come up a little higher up onto those right fingertips so that there's less weight resting on that front hand. Legs are really engaged. Good. And then bend that right knee, releasing both hands down to the floor. Spin your back heel up and then drop the back knee. Use a blanket underneath the knee if you need. Good. Anjaneyasana. Inhale both arms up to the sky. Good. Interlacing your fingers, press the heels of the hands up so you have this sensation of pulling up through your side ribs, squeeze the front heel and the back thigh towards each other. So again, it's pulling the thigh bones up towards the center of the pelvis, and from below your belly button, pulling up, lengthening the spine. Good. And then let your pelvis move forward any amount more. So that doesn't have to mean that your knee has to go super far forward, but it means that you let yourself move forward to the point that that back thigh is able to support. Good. Nice, Harriet. And then release the hands down to the floor. Both hands inside the front foot, please. Good. Do some circling with that hip. Yeah. Good. Do your circles the other way. Same hip. Just move your hips the other way. Good. And then find yourself coming back to stillness, please. Nice. Lift the back knee up and then step your left foot forward just a little bit. Take both legs to straight. Tanasana. Good. Blocks underneath the hands. Great idea. Beautiful. And again, this feeling of sending the breath, sending your awareness with the breath through the sensation of the pose. So maybe it's breathing up the spine again, up to the tail and down the backs of the legs. I've been really into that form of breathing lately. But it's anything that allows you to feel that your breath is integrated into this body experience, that it's not that you're breathing through something that your body is going through, but that you are breathing with the sensation of your body, which means that you notice the ebb and flow, that anything that you're feeling is not static, right? It's dynamic, it's moving. And that by breathing more consciously, more deeply, is that you help that dynamic process, right? You help there to be a feeling of that pulsation that we say is the way that things are, is everything is always pulsating. And it's only when we think that we are going to attach to one piece or another that we get distracted. We lose sight of that. Good. So one more breath up on your fingertips. Draw the arm bones up into your shoulders so your chest gets wider. Good. Pull back on the tops of your thighs. So again, it's like you're flaring your sit bones up and wide back behind you. Good. So a lengthening of the lower back. Nice. And then bend that right knee, walk your fingertips forward, step up to standing split. Left thigh comes parallel to the floor. Again, pressing through that right heel. Good. And bend your standing knee just a little bit. Take your right hand to the outside of that knee so you have something to push against. Push the inner knee, the inner thigh wide. So you're not just moving the knee, but you're trying to push the entire right inner thigh wide and then pressing through the big toe mound. And then scoop your low belly. Good. Keep that feeling of widening. Start to straighten the right leg almost to the point where it feels like it is completely straight, but don't lock the knee. Keep pulling your hips higher towards the sky. Good. And then bend your left knee, kick your heel in. That's the leg in the air. Lift that thigh higher. Good. You can release the right hand to the floor if you'd like, but if it's helping you keep that knee awake or that thigh awake, then keep the hand there. Good. Left knee is bent. Kick that thigh higher. Just lift it a little higher. Press your heel up. Good. And then do it again. Good. And then do it again. And see if you can pause and hold it a little higher that time. Breathe. Good. And then drop the chest, straighten the leg, left leg all the way. And then step all the way back to lunge, please. Come back to downward facing dog. Good. Nice, you guys. Breathe very deeply. Drop your knees or bend your knees. Don't drop them, but bend them. Just for a moment, bend your knees in your down dog. Pull your hips higher. Good. Like you're dropping your hips towards your heels. Bend the knees forward, pull your hips back. Yes. And then start to straighten the legs again, almost to that point where they feel completely straight, but don't lock your knees. That's it. Slide forward to plank pose, upward push up. Good. Lower down all the way to your belly. Rise up into cobra, lift head, neck, and chest. Good. And then come back downward facing dog, tuck the toes, lift the hips. Nice. Left leg comes up and back, down dog split. Good. And then step that foot forward between the hands, lunge. Fingertips stay on the floor, framing that front foot. Good. So you're lifting your chest up a little higher. And again, if you need blocks here, you can absolutely have blocks underneath the hands to give you a little bit more space to work with the hips. But then you're scooping your belly, drop that left butt cheek a little lower and move that left knee all the way forward over the ankle. Good. So it's like that left thigh is trying to parallel the floor. And then as you start to lift your right thigh, your back thigh up and wide, right? Almost like the sit bones are trying to, again, flare up and back behind you. You keep that left knee over the ankle. So this is what helps stretch the lower back here. Chest up. Good. And now maintain this, squeezing the feet towards each other. Come up into high lunge. Take the shoulders on top of the hips. Good. Keep that knee over the front ankle, back thigh lifting up and away. Good, you guys. Really nice. Take the arms out wide, cactus arms, and then take it into any amount of a back bend. So as you start to lift your chest, don't compromise what's happening with the legs. Keep that front knee over the front ankle. Keep lifting through the back thigh. Good. Elbows a little higher. There you go. And then stretch the arms all the way to straight, reaching for that back bend even longer through the armpits, through the side waist. Good. And then all the way back up to center, please. Take the hands back behind you. Interlace the fingers. Again, don't compromise the legs. Deep breath in. Bow forward. Take the arms up and over any amount, dropping the head, the shoulders inside. Good. Stretching the arms up and over. Nice. Keep that back thigh pulling up and away. This is what takes all of the excessive amount of work out of the front thigh here. Good. Release the hands down to the floor. Both hands inside the front foot. Walk to your right until you come to the center of your mat. Straighten both legs. Turn the toes. Prasarita Tanasana. Good. Nice, you guys. Hands touching something. Come up on the tippy toes of your feet. So if your hands don't comfortably reach the floor, make sure you have blocks underneath them, but come up onto your tippy toes. Good. And again, you're pulling up, you're pulling up, you're pulling up, sending your tailbone up towards the sky. So really work through the lower spine here, trying to lift your tail, lift your tail, lift your tail. Good. And then allow the heels to soften back down towards the floor. Nice. Good. Bend your knees. Please drop your thighs back behind you. So your inner knees are staying nice and wide. Thighs go back behind the heels and walk the fingertips slightly forward. So it's like you're in a bent kneed down dog thing. Variation. So again, the idea is you're widening the inner knees, you're scooping the belly, dropping the thighs back. Good. Inner knees wide. And pressing into your fingertips, drag the arm bones up and into your chest. Good. One more breath. Drop those hips. Really good. And then start to straighten the legs again, please. Keeping the hands forward, just walk yourself into that wide-legged downward facing dog with the legs straight. So you walk yourself forward enough that you feel that sensation of pushing into your hands and pulling up and back through the slope of the spine. Tops of the thighs move back. Good. And you feel the lift from the front of your ribs. So it's the chest lifting up or the heart moving up towards the back of the shoulders. Nice. Good, you guys. Walk the hands all the way back in towards the feet, please. And then bring your hands to your hips. Come all the way up to stand. Good. Turn your left toes towards the top of your mat. Take the arms out wide, letter T, Trikonasana, triangle pose. So with both legs straight, again, hugging the feet towards each other. So you have this line of energy coming up both legs towards the center of the pelvis. Extend out through the left rib cage, get long, and then let that left hand drop down to the front leg, floor, or block, right arm to the sky. Good. And again, feeling yourself in space, feeling yourself as being part of this vastness. That it's not the individual pieces of what's included in that vastness that matters. That's what we call distraction. If we look at each individual piece of things, right, in comparison to something else, in opposition to something else, then we're distracted because we lose sight of the space in between. The practice of yoga is keep your awareness so large that you can observe all of those individual pieces, but you're not jumping from one to one to one to one. Good. Get a little lighter on that left hand, so pull up through the right side ribs. Really good. Good. Then bend that left knee, please. Release both hands down to the floor. Nice. Spin your back heel up. Drop that knee to the floor. Use a blanket there if you'd like. Anjaneyasana. Inhale both arms to the sky. Good. Interlacing the fingers, press the heels of the hands up towards the sky. Again, squeezing the front heel and the back thigh towards each other. Pull up. So get longer through your side waist. It's almost going to feel like as you get more vertical or you lift up that you actually have availability to let your pelvis move forward, but your ribs soften back. Good. You're pressing through that front heel. Nice. And then release the hands out and down, please. Both hands to the inside of the front foot. Do some circles with that hip. Good. Again, purpose of hip circles is to create more circulation, to move a little bit of the range of motion of that joint. So if your circles are just moving your pelvis in one piece, you might be missing the benefits of your hip circles. So you want to try and find that feeling that you are almost hula hooping your pelvis. And then move yourself the other direction, please, whatever that happens to be, other rotation. Good. And then bring yourself back to stillness, please. Nice. Lift the back knee up. Step your right foot forward just a little bit. Take both legs to straight, Tanasana. Good. You can blocks underneath the hands if you need so that your fingers are touching something. Again, that sensation of connection changes the way that we act in our body, right? Changes the way that we act in our minds. When we feel that we are connected to something, that sense of safety or that sense of comfort allows us to be more relaxed with who we are. When we feel that we are separate from everything, we're more defensive, right? We create more separation. So part of the practice of yoga is remembering that even when you are jumping from distraction to distraction, is that there is that space that connects. And that if that's what you're breathing in, that's what you're breathing out, then you are never in that need to stay contracted. You're never in that need to stay defensive. You're just aware. And aware means you're able to respond to anything and everything. Now, responding is not the same as reacting. And that's our practice, is to notice when we are stuck in one versus the other. Good. Take one more breath here, squeezing the feet towards each other, feeling that lift up onto your fingertips. Nice wide chest. Good. Tops of thighs up and back. Nice. And then bend the left knee, please. Walk your fingertips forward. Step up to standing split using blocks underneath the hands if you'd like. Right leg comes parallel to the floor. Good. And then you're bending your standing knees, your left knee bends. Take your left hand to the outside of that knee. So again, you have something to press against. It doesn't have to be literally the knee. It can be just above the knee at the top of the thigh. That works too. But you're pressing wide. So from your whole inner thigh, press wide. That's it. Good. And then scoop your belly, please. Send your butt higher towards the sky as you start to straighten that leg almost to the point that it feels like it's 100% straight. And then pause, right? No locking the knee. And then if you want that left hand to come back down to the floor, you can let it down. Good. Bend your right knee. That's your leg in the air. Kick your heel in towards your butt. Good. Keep this feeling of lifting through the standing leg. That doesn't change. But then lift that right thigh a little higher. Press up through the heel. Good. And then let it soften a little bit. And then lift it back up. Good. Again, challenging the extension of your spine, the extension of your thigh. And then let it soften again. And then one more time, bring it up higher. See if you can hold it there. Good. Sending your sit bones up and wide, trying to lengthen the lower spine, flare the sit bones. Nice. And then straighten that right leg all the way back to that standing split. Good. And then step all the way back to lunge and come back to downward facing dog. Good. Bend your knees in dog, cat cow your spine. So as the knees bend, move with your breath, inhaling to lengthen, exhaling to round. Good. Nice, you guys. And then pause with the knees bent, spine neutral. Take your butt back towards your heels a little bit more. Maybe you even bend your knees a little bit more. So again, you're getting into that sensation of almost tucking through the tail, but then extending the inner thighs back and wide again. So you're dropping a little lower, stretching the lower spine. Good. And then take the legs all the way to straight. Deep breath in. Good. Slide forward to plank pose. Lower down with your exhale all the way down to the floor. Good. Bend both knees. Kick your heels in towards your butt. Press your thighs down to the floor. Lift head, neck, and chest. Rise up cobra with the knees bent. Good. Pressing down through the tops of the thighs, drawing the heels in. Nice, you guys. So this is not just for your shoulders, but to get that stretch at the front of your thighs. Draw your hip points forward and up. Yeah. And then release the chest, release the legs. Beautiful. Press up to hands and knees, please. And then come back child's pose, knees wide. Good. Nice, you guys. Walk your torso to the right. So bringing your belly over the right thigh. Good. And then walking back to center and taking your belly over the left thigh. Nice. And then all the way back to center again, please. Good. And then come on up, walk back up onto the hands and knees. Good. And come into a high kneeling position. So hands come up onto your hips, shoulders on top of your hips. Extend your right leg out wide to the right. So a variation of gate pose. Good. So as that right leg comes out to the right, come up on the heel. I know I don't usually do this variation, but today that's what we're into. So come up on the heel, please. So your heel should be in line with your left knee. So again, you might have to bring that leg slightly forward, toes turned up towards the ceiling. Good. Stretch the arms out wide. Nice. And then you're drawing that right hand down the right leg, left arm over the ear, but press down and drag up through that right heel. So again, it's almost like that sensation of triangle where you're drawing the leg all the way up into the hip socket and then extending out through the side waist. Good. And then that left arm that's in the air, bend the elbow, place the hand again, not behind the head, but slide it down your neck towards the back of your heart. Good. Reaching the elbow towards the tip of your head. Stay in the side body stretch. And now take your right hand off of your shin and bring it up to that left elbow. Yep, exactly. Just adding a little bit of weight, lengthening that side of the rib cage, lengthening that arm. Good. And then low belly has to engage here. Squeeze the legs, come all the way back up to center. Nice. Take your arms back down to the floor or hands back down to the floor. Turn your right toes forward. So bring that foot flat to the floor. Good. And then walk your hands straight ahead like you're in a one-legged down dog. Good. With that left shin on the floor. Nice. Good. Try and lift your left low belly and hip a little wider to the left. That means you're going to soften that right hip slightly forward. Good. Right rib cage slightly forward towards the floor. Awesome. Good. Pressing into the baby toe edge of that right foot. Nice. And then walk your hands all the way back in, please, and switch the legs. So right knee down to the floor, left leg's going to come out, come all the way up into that kneeling position first. So that as you take the leg out, turn the toes up towards the ceiling. Make sure that that heel is in line with your right knee. So if you have to turn sideways, if your hips are turning sideways because that leg is extended, move that heel forward so that your hips are facing straight ahead. Good. And then slide the left hand down the left leg, right arm over the ear, remembering that you are pressing down through the left heel and dragging up and in. So you're pulling your thighs up into the center of the pelvis. Good. And then extending. Nice. Yeah, breathe as wide as you can. Good. Nice. Awareness is that state that is so big. Includes everything. So there's no need to jump from one thing to another. Good. Bend that right elbow, the arm that's in the air. Take the hand back behind the head, slide it towards the back of the heart. Nice. And then you're taking your left hand off of the left shin, bring it up to that right elbow. And again, just adding that little bit of extra weight where you lengthen the arm, lengthen the side body, keep pressing through the right shin. That's your supporting leg, and squeezing the left thigh up and in. Good. And then using the low belly, using the legs, come all the way back up to center, please. Good. Turn those left toes forward so the foot comes flat. Good. Walk the hands down to the floor in front of you, and then walk yourself straight ahead. Again, like you're in that one-legged down dog position. Tops of the thighs floating back in space, sit bones going up and wide. Good. And here that right side, low belly and hip are rising slightly wider to the right. So you're softening left thigh forward. Good. So Emily, move your hips back in space a tiny bit more. That's it. Even more. There you go. Yep. Lisa, same thing. Move those hips back in space. Sarah, do the reverse. Move your hips forward in space. There you go. Good, you guys. Walk your hands all the way back in, please. Nice. And come all the way to hands and knees facing the top of your mat. Good. Do a little bit of cat and cow. So you're just, again, moving the pelvis with both hip points going in the same direction at the same time. Good. Nice. And then come back to stillness, please. Tuck the toes, lift the hips, downward facing dog. Good. Take the right foot forward between the hands, lunge. Walk your fingertips straight ahead, step up to standing split again. Left leg comes parallel to the floor. Good. And then left hand stays on the floor or a block. Take your right hand to your lower spine. So right hand to your sacrum. Good. Press your sacrum up into your hand. So again, you're focusing on that long line of the standing leg. So you're pressing up from inside, internal, low belly, pelvis, pressing up. And then start to turn your belly open to the right. So like you're moving towards revolved Ardha Chandrasana. Good. But keep pressing up through your sacrum. Don't get distracted by trying to turn the wrist. Good. Keep lifting long. So your chest is not dropping. Your chest is staying lifted. Nice. And then if you'd like, right arm comes to the sky. Good. And then if you'd like, right arm comes to the sky, and then maybe bending the left knee, kick your heel and reach back for the foot or the ankle if you choose, or stay where you are, hand at the sacrum and just continuing to lift chest up, lifting spine long. Good. Don't let that standing knee buckle. Pull up through your hips. That's it. And then extend everything all the way back, leg and arm. Good. Release the right hand down to the floor, please. Nice. And then step back to a nice long lunge. Pause for a moment, lifting up onto your fingertips. Again, front knee over the front ankle. Lift that back thigh higher. Send your sit bones back and wide. Fingertips on the floor. Good. Yeah, just working the back thigh and pelvis. Nice. And then come back to downward facing dog. I know you never pause in that transition. Good. Vinyasa if you'd like, or drop to child's pose. If you're doing the vinyasa, you're coming forward to plank, lowering down to your belly. Your choice. Maybe you bend the knees in cobra again so that you really work through that stretching of the front of the thighs. Good. Maybe it feels like plenty of stretch at the front of the thighs to have the legs straight. And then find your way back downward facing dog. Good. Left foot steps forward between the hands. Walk the fingertips straight ahead, step up standing split, right thigh parallels the floor. Good. And again, making sure your hands are forward enough so that you have full length of your side body. So when you come up onto fingertips, you should feel like you can have full length of your spine with your hands directly underneath your shoulders. Good. Right hand stays where it is. Left hand comes up to your lower back. Press the hand to the sacrum. Good. And then press the sacrum up into your hand. So again, it's like you're pulling that whole length of the standing leg nice and long from inside. You're pulling it long. And then start to turn your belly open to the left, keeping your right hip just as lifted and wide. So don't let it sink. Good. Inner thigh lifting up. Nice, nice, nice. Kicking that right heel a little higher. And then maybe you take the left arm to the sky. Good. And maybe you kick the heel in towards your butt and reach back for the foot or the ankle. Possible that you're just going to stay where you are. And again, work that feeling of lifting through the whole length of your standing leg. Good. So if you're holding that ankle, you got to lift that right thigh a little higher. Don't let the right hip collapse. Nice, Kristen. Good, Emily. Good, Harriet. Awesome. And then extend all the way back long again, leg and arm. Release the left hand down to the floor. And then step that right leg back to a lunge. And again, set that lunge up with the perfect intention as though it is a pose and not just a transition. So the knee is over the ankle, back thigh lifts up a little higher, come up on the fingertips, Lift and lengthen tailbone up and back. So again, you're working that angle of the pelvis. Good. Nice. And then step back to downward facing dog. Awesome. Slide forward to plank pose, upward push up. Lowering down slow to the belly. Bend the knees again, kicking your heels in, either rising up into that bent knee cobra or reach back for the feet or the ankles for a bow pose. So up to you, either keeping the hands on the floor or reaching for the feet. If you're reaching for your feet, kick your feet back into your hands, start to lift the thighs, and then from the front of your rib cage, pull away from the floor, lift head, neck, and chest. And if the hands are on the floor, cobra pose with the knees bent. Good. One more breath, everybody. If you have those, if you're holding your feet, hug your knees in, lift through your thighs, and slowly release. Nice job. Good, you guys. Take a moment on your belly, pause, and then slowly find your way onto your backs. I say slowly, but you can move as quickly as you want. I think the saying it slowly is so that you are doing it with awareness of what you're doing and not just throwing yourself onto your backs. Bend your knees, please. Bend your knees, plant your feet on the floor, and then just a little bit of, again, rocking the pelvis forward and back. So tilting the pelvis forward and back. Good. And again, really relevant to notice, right? Because if on the floor you have difficulty finding this rotation or finding this movement of the pelvis, is that means that you're having trouble finding it in everything else that you do. Good. Noticing which side of the pelvis is more dominant, which side wants to go further, work harder, pulls more. Nice. Good. So come to what feels like neutral. Bend your elbows. So your arms are in robot arms. So pressing down into the elbows. Good. You're going to roll the front of your pelvis forward. So like you're arching your lower back, press into your heels and drag back, and then pressing into the upper arms, start to arch the upper back as well. So it's as though you're trying to come into fish pose. So keep your butt on the floor and just work the arch of your spine. Good. So again, you're dragging your heels towards your butt. You're arcing your pelvis towards your toes. So front of the pelvis towards the toes. That's it. And pressing down through the arms, feel the lift through the back of your heart. Probably it'll feel like you're too restricted to come into a full fish pose. That's okay. Don't let your knees splay wide. Good. Just work that arch of the spine, squeezing in, dragging through your tail, upper chest. Try and keep as much of the upper arms on the floor as you can. Nice. Beautiful. And then slowly release, please. Nice job. Take your right ankle over your left thigh. Good. If you're thinking that wasn't any fun because it wasn't the way fish usually feels, don't worry. Lift your left shin parallel to the floor, reach through to hold the left thigh, flexing the feet. Good. Nice. In a similar way that distraction is not a problem in our practice, resistance or limitation is not a problem either. It's only when we are sure that things should be other than the way that they are that we start to run into that problem. I don't like the way things are. I would prefer them to be this other way. Lovely to notice. Good. So you're bending your left knee just a little bit more and dragging that thigh in as much as you can from the low belly, pressing down and wide through the lower back. Good. And then still holding that thigh, extend your left heel up towards the ceiling. So you straighten that leg, pull down. So feel like you're pressing your heel down into the floor. So your whole thigh is pulling down into the pelvis. And then again, almost like you're trying to tilt the pelvis towards the floor. So top of the pelvis away from your belly. Good. Nice, you guys. And then a deep breath in. You can unwind the arms here. So reach the right hand above your right shin, so that as you exhale, you can curl your shoulders up, walk your hands up that left leg. So like you're reaching higher up towards your ankle. Walk your hands up the leg. Good. Nice. So you're curling in here, pressing still down through the low back, hollowing the belly. Nice. And then as you relax your shoulders back to the floor, start to draw that left thigh in towards your belly any amount. So the legs get closer That's it. Beautiful. Nice. And then release that leg, bend the left knee again, place the left foot down to the floor, right ankle is still stacked, and then drop your feet over to your left. So your right foot's going to come flat to the floor. Good. Arms can go wide or into cactus arms. So you're softening through that right side rib cage. And at first, you can let that right knee slide forward or roll forward towards your belly so that you have this feeling of being able to pull your right side sacrum back and down to the floor. Good. So the thigh falls in towards the belly, so angles in towards the belly. So your right hip and sacrum can pull towards the floor. Then at that point, you can press the ankle up against the thigh and start to angle that right knee up towards the ceiling. But you still want that right side sacrum dropping towards the floor. Good. So you're moving between those two actions. And if you do one of them too hard, the other one becomes impossible, right? So you have to find where you are letting the right side sacrum drop to the floor and also where you can start to work that rotation of the right knee up towards the ceiling. Good. So Kristen, I'm curious if you take that right foot to the inner thigh. It might not cross all the way over the left thigh, but take it to the inner thigh, stack it on top of that, and then maybe use the, and then maybe actually use your hand as resistance. Give it something to push against. Good, and then try and work that right side sacrum back down to the floor. Okay, that's interesting. You'll have to let me know how that feels for you. Good, you guys. Take one more breath on this side. Good, and then start to unwind yourself, coming back to center, please. Hug the right knee in towards your chest. Good, squeeze it in. Nice, and then send the right foot down to the floor. Stack your left ankle over your right thigh. Lift your right shin parallel to the floor. Reach through to hold right thigh. Good. And again, the more you bend that right knee, right? So you're drawing the legs in towards the belly. So you want to let that happen because that angle on your hips and on your low back is really helpful. And then it's from internal, again, that you are pressing down and wide through the lower back. So we usually say press the thighs back against the hands as you pull the knee in. Absolutely, you want that added resistance, but let your knee come in first so that you get the stretch through the back of your thigh and all the way up through your lower back. Then you add the resistance. Good. So for the hip flexors and a lot of other things, you want that right knee to be able to bend. You want the right hip to be able to flex. Good. And then with the next breath, you can change the hands here. So start to straighten that right leg, pressing the heel up towards the sky. And again, as you straighten the leg, instead of reaching up through the heel, I want you to actually drag down, like you're pulling your thigh bone down into the pelvis. And you're trying to get as wide and rooted through your sacrum as you can. So everything is pulling down. Good. And then walk the hands up above that left shin, please. As you exhale, curl your shoulders away from the floor. Walk your hands up towards the ankle, any amount. Good. And again, hands might stay at the thigh. That's totally fine. And then as you relax your shoulders down, draw that right thigh, draw the legs in towards the belly, any amount more. Good. Again, keeping as much of your sacrum rooted to the floor as you can. So you're getting that flex through the legs, through the pelvis. Good. And then bend the right knee again, please. Release that right foot down to the floor. Keep the ankle stacked and then drop your legs over to the right. So your left foot is going to come flat to the floor. Good. And then again, as you let the knee angle in towards the belly first, you can pull back on that left side sacrum. So you're drawing everything back and down. So you get that twist through the spine. And then once you've done that, then you can start to angle your left knee up towards the sky or up towards the ceiling. So you pull the thigh away from the belly. Good. And then you're working a little bit more into the outer hip. Nice. Awesome, you guys. Keeping the ankle pressing against the opposite thigh. So again, you have something solid to connect to. Knowing that the breath is always connecting to something that is bigger. The more your awareness expands, the less there is the need to be disturbed by what is small. It doesn't mean that you will disregard it, but it means that you see it more in the context or the place that it holds in the big picture. And so you can respond differently. It's not a small thing that you are trying to interact with. It's part of interconnectedness. And when we know we're connected to something, we are more relaxed about who we are. So we practice yoga for that. To remember, keep your awareness in a state where you are connected. Take one more breath where you are. Again, trying to pull that knee away from the belly as long as you have already tried to draw that left thigh or left side sacrum down to the floor. Good. And then bring yourself back to center, please. Hug that left knee in towards your chest. Good. Take the right knee in as well. So both knees come in. Knees wide for happy baby. Reach for your ankles or your edges of your feet, inner or outer edges. Good. And with the knees nice and wide, maybe using your elbows to the inside of your knees, stack your heels. So lifting the feet towards the ceiling. Good. So again, the idea there is by bringing the knees, angling them more towards your armpits, is that you are stretching here the lower back as well as the outer hips. Good. So heels up. That's it. Nice, you guys. And then let the arms come out wide to the side, please. Stretch your legs out to straight. So you're in a straddle pose. So legs can come up first if that's the way you did it. And then let your legs drop wide into a straddle. Good. No hands if you can. Yep. Legs out wide, straddle, no hands. Good. Drawing the low rib cage down and in. Beautiful. And then squeeze the legs towards each other. Bring them all the way back up towards the ceiling. That's it. And then let them go wide again, like you are now pushing the legs wide. So you're not just dropping them, but you're reaching out through your heels, pressing wide. Good. And then squeeze them back up towards each other, squeezing the heels back up to the ceiling. And then press them wide. Press your inner thighs wide. Reach out through the heels. Good. And then last time, bringing the legs all the way back up to center. Good. Bend the knees back in towards your chest. Squeeze. Good. And then plant your feet on the floor, please. Bend your elbows, robot arms. Come into bridge pose. So pressing down through the feet, pressing down through the upper arms. Start to arch the back of the heart and then lift the hips. Again, moving with the inhale. You might find yourself again in that subtle little pulsation as you hold the pose. As you inhale, you might feel yourself rising into the back bend just a tiny bit more. And the exhale isn't falling out of the back bend, but it's a feeling of where can you relax. So the inhale might pull you into the pose a little bit more. Then the exhale is where you relax. Good. Drag back on your heels. Feel the lift from your armpits. Hug those inner knees just a little bit and then try and tilt your pelvis again, like you're arching the lower spine. So drawing the top of the pelvis towards your heels or away from your belly. Good. And it's going to be subtle in this pose, but try it. So the inner thighs are going to naturally rotate towards the floor. Beautiful. One more breath from your ribs. Rise up. Shoulders wide. Good. And then unwind the spine one vertebra at a time, coming down. Good. Stretch your legs straight out in front of you, please. Arms can either stay in robot arms or you can stretch the arms to straight for a full fish pose. So arms can come alongside you, reaching towards your feet if you'd like. Good. If your arms are straight and you want to bring your arms close to your side ribs and bring your hands underneath your butt, you're welcome to do that. Palms facing down. Good. Active legs. So legs stay together. Either point or flex your feet. Either one is fine, but press down through your seat, press through the arms, and then again, arching from the back of the heart, rise up into fish. So again, you're squeezing the muscles along the spine, feeling yourself pressing down through your seat, tilting that pelvis towards the floor, pull through your side ribs, heart high. Good. Throat long, top of the head, just touching the floor. Good. Harriet, see if you can lift your left shoulder just a little higher and wider. There you go. That's it. Nice, Sarah. Good, Kristen. Nice, Emily. One more breath, you guys. Feel your spine elongating. And then slowly release, unwinding. Beautiful. Good. And then bend the knees, please. Draw the knees in towards your chest. Squeeze. Good. One more breath, squeezing the knees. I know, we usually don't pause there either. And then go ahead and release the legs, please. Good. So I was debating whether you are coming into shoulder stand or not, and I think that you are. So there you go. So my suggestion is shoulder stand. If shoulder stand is not in your vocabulary or you don't have the space for it, of course, if you have a block and you want to place that underneath your seat, you can take your legs up into a supported shoulder stand or block underneath your sacrum into a supported bridge pose. If you can come into shoulder stand, then set the arms like you would into robot arms, bend the knees in towards your chest, and using the abdominals, knees in, start to roll through the spine, lifting the hips up, using the hands at the lower back, rooting down through the shoulders, and then extend from below your belly button up through the legs. Good. Pressing down through the upper arms. And just like that lift of bridge pose, as you're just continuing that, rising higher and higher and higher through the spine. Good. Awesome, you guys. Good. Pulling up through the inner edges of the legs. And again, maybe noticing, having an awareness of your breath. Great to bring the breath back to that cycle of breathing into the third eye here and releasing the breath from that point. Become aware again of yourself as part of space. It is not through just those small, immediate relationships that we find ourselves. It's not through the distractions of this or that or all those categories of things, but it's also through this bigness that we find ourselves. Right? The whole aspect of the world that you cannot see immediately with your eyes, that your mind is not immediately touching, but you are connected to it. This is what we call the state of awareness, where we're not labeling all of those things, but we know that there is space that we are connected to. Come into plow pose if you're in shoulder stand, taking the toes to the floor above the crown of the head if you can. Good. Continuing to reach up through the spine. So even though the toes are reaching for the floor, your spine is not getting any shorter. So you're pressing up through your sit bones, lengthening through the side ribs. Good. And then from plow, begin to roll down your spine, coming all the way out of the pose as your hips come towards the floor. You can bend your knees so that there's less weight. Good. And pausing for a moment with the feet flat to the floor as your hips come down to the floor. Nice. And then stretch your legs straight out in front of you. Walk your feet to the bottom right-hand corner of your mat, crossing one ankle over the other. Good. Walk your shoulders towards the upper right-hand corner of your mat. So again, you're curling your shoulders towards your feet. Take the arms overhead. Hold opposite wrists or elbows. Again, if you need to change the arm position, you can. That is what is recommended. You're breathing through left side body. Instead, if you're meditating and there is something that is distracting you, that instead of trying to make yourself not notice the distraction, is you simply include it in your meditation. You bring it in. Your awareness now includes whatever that thing is, and that is part of meditation. It's no longer something other than. If you could do that with every influence in your life, that instead of looking at it or feeling it as something that is opposed to you or that is disruptive to the way you want things to be, instead you just found yourself in the way that things are. You bring everything into your awareness and say, okay, I can respond, but nothing is pulling me away. And that's the trick to yoga. It says that you can't ever really be pulled away. This is the thing, is that your basic nature is that state of peace. So nothing can pull you away. It's only you that runs away. When our awareness is so big that there's no need to run, there's nowhere to run. And we stay in that state of equanimity. Stay in the state of peace. No one and nothing can take it. Bring yourself back to center for a moment. Let your legs stay wide, your arms wide like a big letter X. And then move your feet to the bottom left-hand corner of your mat. Take your shoulders to the upper left-hand corner. So cross one ankle, hold opposite wrists or elbows. Breathe through the right side. Said that if we are going to be selfish about anything, according to Swami Satchidananda, we should be selfish about our own inner peace. And that means we should keep our awareness on it. It doesn't mean that you guard it away from everyone and everything, but it means you keep your awareness on it. You don't forget about it. You don't say, oh, I guess I'll find that when I'm done with everything else. Is that you make everything else about that state of inner peace. This is how we start to broaden our awareness, is that instead of saying that this is against or opposed to me being at peace, so we become so good at being with things the way that they are, that our inner peace includes all things. It's never taken away. We might not always be comfortable, but we can be at peace. We might not always like what's going on, but we can be at peace. And when we are at peace, we're more relaxed about who we are, right? Because we know we're connected to something that is not the little stuff, not the opposition. So practicing having the mind be steady and relaxed in all conditions, including all conditions, is the essence of meditation. So we practice in quiet so that we can learn what quiet is. And then we take that quiet out into the loud, noisy world, and we realize that there's no noise that can overcome that quiet. But we can forget about it. We can run away from it. We can drop it. So we practice including everything as it is. Slowly unwind, bringing the legs wide, the arms wide, again back to that letter X. So all the other things that we hope will happen through a yoga practice are just themselves distractions. Only one thing that we're doing, and that is developing that sense of awareness that includes everything. And that's yoga, when everything is one. You no longer separate. And in that is realization, in that is bliss, in that is transformation, etc., etc., etc. Slowly bring everything back together, please, drawing the knees in towards your chest. Good. Keep the right knee in, extend the left leg down to the floor. Come into spinal twist, bringing that right knee across the body. Left arm goes wide or up alongside the ear. Good. Stretching through that left leg, the left leg that is straight. Reach through that leg as much as you are twisting through the right side. And then come back to center, please. Switch the legs, bringing the right leg down to the floor. Hug your left knee in. Come across the body and twist. Again, keeping full length on the right thigh, the leg that is extended down towards the bottom of your mat. As though it is a standing leg, press through that heel. Good. Come back to center, please. Nice. Stretch both legs out in front of you, placing the legs consciously for Shavasana. Arms alongside you, palms up. Again, placing yourself consciously. And then let yourself come back to your rhythm of being just aware of your breath. If you'd like to breathe into the third eye and release, you can do that again. Or simply let yourself be aware that you are breathing into space that is far bigger than this individual inhale and this individual exhale. Very gently, let the breath get a little longer, a little deeper. Let your body begin to stretch and move, whatever ways serve it well. As you're ready, drawing the knees in towards your chest, roll to the right side. And take a moment before you begin to push the floor away. Come back to an upright seated position. Hands coming together, palm to palm in front of the heart. So we practice, we practice, we practice. We come to our mat over and over. We come to our meditation cushion over and over, and we do great things. And then we get up and we walk away. We walk away from the mat. We leave our yoga room, the studio, our meditation, and something else walks in and we say, that feeling that I just found or that experience that I just had, I guess that's got to go because this other thing's here. Don't walk away from it. This is the practice, is that it continues when you step off of your mat, you step out of the room, you step into the world, is don't walk away from that feeling of being connected to that big space. Don't walk away and run to something small to bang your head against. Don't run away from your own inner peace. This is what we do all the time. So we practice to stay steady, knowing that when something else walks in, we don't become smaller, we let our awareness get bigger. And the more that we can include into that state of inner peace, we include it, we include it, we include it, then it never leaves. It never wavers because everything is already there. We've already accepted it. So a big part of our practice is to just do that. Find yourself in the way that things are. And whatever seems to be opposing to that, you let your awareness get bigger so it can be included in your state of peace, not excluded, not opposite. So you are always meditating, or you're always reaching for that state where all things are included and where you can remain in that state of calm, equanimity, responding, not reacting. But don't walk away. Hang on to. There's one thing you're going to be attached to. It should be your inner peace. Close with the sound of Om. Deep breath in. Sliding the thumbs up to the space between the eyebrows. Namaste. Thank you guys so much. Have a great rest of your night, a great rest of your week. Go about the rest of your evening, but don't let it disturb your peace, whatever it is.